Welcome back. So this year's Advent of Code started today, and I want to share with you 3 reasons why you should join as well. And at the end of the video, I will also share with you a few tips and tricks how you can make the most out of this challenge. So the top reason for me to join the Advent of Code is always the fun. So you have quite a lot of fun during the problem solving, and as you saw in my last video, you become a better engineer if you are a good problem solver. So as always, the Advent of Code is a good way of training your problem solving skills and also to iterate on problems. Because every day you have 2 little challenges. The first one is the base challenge and the second one is always a little twist on the first one. So it makes the first challenge a bit more complicated. So the second reason for me is you can always try out a new programming language. You either can get started with programming or you can learn a new language. So 2 years ago I used Rust, last year I used TypeScript, and this year I will go with Go. So if you want to learn a new language, this is the perfect opportunity for you as well. And the third reason for me is the cooperation with others. So the most fun it is if you cooperate with others, either on Reddit, LinkedIn, YouTube, or in your company. For me at least, we always have a little leaderboard where we can compete against each other, and after the day, we always compare our solutions in a little thread in Slack and have quite a nice conversation about the solutions. And it's always fun to see how others solve the problem and how other languages solve the same problem. So you also can compare between languages and can learn quite a lot of stuff, how you can solve it in different languages. Also for me, it is always quite a lot of fun to see how others solved it in languages I know. So I can see, would I have done the same or would I have done it differently? So as I said, these 3 reasons are for me the most important things on the Advent of Code. It is super important to have a lot of fun. And to make the most out of it, I have a few tips for you as well.
Let's go!
So the first tip is just use Git. If you don't know Git, it is a good way to learn it, to version your files and have one central place where you can upload them. If you are familiar with Git, then I don't need to explain why you should use it. The second tip is Google stuff. So don't use AI. For one, they say please don't use it, because in the end, the goal is that you learn something new and not the AI. And on the other hand, it helps you to learn problem solving better if you just Google the problems that you have and Google parts of the problem instead of giving the whole problem the AI and get the solution. So you want to learn something, right? Not the AI. But still, it can be quite helpful to use Copilot to at least get some code hints if you're not familiar with the language. The next tip would be write some helper functions. All the problems are quite similar in the setup. You have an input text file and you have an output. And the input is generated for you as well as the output is calculated based on the input. So you cannot just take someone else's solution and put it into your input. The whole point is that you need to write your own code. But you always need to read a text input file and to output something. So it can be quite handy help you in the future. Have some helper functions that split on backslash and give you an array of strings, or read the input file and give you the response. So some helper functions can be quite helpful, and you can use this template over and over above the days. So my fourth tip would be don't spend too much time on it. If you get stuck, either take a walk or just drop it. So there's no need to be competitive about solution. If you spend more than 1 or 2 hours on one problem, it may be beneficial to just drop it and try it the next day, or just don't do it at all. So there's no need to do all the 25 days. It's just for you to learn and to have some fun. I never did all of the challenges, but I always had a lot of fun. But when I felt it takes too much time and I have other things to do, I'm also quite okay with not doing a problem. My last tip would be write tests.
Boring!
It can be quite helpful to have tests in place, not for the whole code, but you always have a little test input and a little expected output. And there you can write a test case that takes the test input and expects you the expected output that is given in the problem. So this can help you quite a lot during development to just iterate faster. For me at least, I always write tests, and this is basically the only project where I'm always writing tests. So it can be quite helpful to have tests in place and use them. And also you learn how test frameworks are working in different languages. So it is quite helpful to stick with some rules Also, it is quite fun to have a leaderboard. I have a few leaderboards. I have some private leaderboards where I compete with my colleagues and some friends. And I also on the public one, but I usually don't compete there because I do not wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning just to solve it as fast as possible. And for me, it's more of the fun part, so I really don't care that much about the public leaderboard. The private one is also just for competing with some friends and having a bit more fun. So yeah, and if you want to learn how to become a good engineer, let me know down in the comments or watch this video. Also, if you're interested in the split keyboard I am using, just watch the build video or my last review. And if you're interested in a review from using it over 2 months now, let me know down in the comments.